You're live. Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. My name is James Cunningham. Tonight is actually the very first meeting that we are holding since we've officially launched, and since we actually have a working program for our software. And I want to start actually by reading this book. How many of you have ever heard of this book called The Science of Getting Rich? Okay. All right. This is one of my favorite books. I'm just going to read the very first page of the introduction. And I'm going to tell you why in just a minute I'm reading this, but it's a great launching point for this very first meeting. So the introduction: the great secret has been passed throughout the centuries. It was covered, lost, stolen, hidden, and bought for vast sums of money as it continued its journey, being passed from one to another. Those who received the knowledge of the secret were fortunate indeed, for without exception, those men and women have been removed and renowned as some of the greatest people to have ever lived. On a night in Chicago in 1896, the secret was passed on to one such man, and with its knowledge, he discovered not only why he had spent his entire life in poverty and failure, but he discovered how to realize the life he had always been seeking, one in which a life of total abundance. That night, his life changed forever, though it would be many years before he would begin to write the little green book called The Science of Getting Rich. His now immortal masterpiece, based on these principles, are called The Great Secret. The man was named Wallace D. Wattles. That's the author. What Wallace D. Wattles did not know at the time, and what he could never have known, was that the effect of that night would reach far, far into the future. He was setting forth a great matrix of events, places, people, and circumstances that would change the course of history. Now, I was introduced to this book before I actually started my very first multi-level marketing company about 23 years ago. And that copy there is probably my fifth copy because I bought so many and just kept breaking the spine reading it so much. And I think that, I'm still learning every day. But let me tell you my story, because quite frankly, although we have some great products, it doesn't really matter what you're selling. You could sell widgets, you can sell services, you could sell anything. But quite frankly, if you understand the secret, this is what happened to me. The very first year that I joined an MLM, it cost me about $2,000 to join. And at that time, my wife and I had just had our first child. We were living in a trailer down in Rose Park. How many know where that's at? By the state fairgrounds, okay? All right, my trailer was the one that's now a little burnt because actually my truck caught on fire one time and burned the side of the trailer. But anyways, so I joined a multi-level and quickly found out, well, it was a financial services company, the largest multi-level financial services company in the country. They had about 60,000 distributors. And so I started that company, started to study this, and within the very first 4 months made absolutely no money. And then month 5 and 6, things started to roll around. I made about $50,000. My wife and I were so excited that we decided to actually move out of the trailer. And so I kept learning how to run and build a big distributing team. And my second year in business, I made a little over $250,000. This was more money than anybody that I knew except for one brother of mine was making. And I continued down the path, continued to study what is the secret, how does it work, how to build the organization. The next year I made a little over $750,000. And then finally, my fourth year into the business, I was making over $1 million. And then I quit. And I went and started my own company and did exactly the same thing. So what I'm going to share with you tonight, and those of you who are listening, I'm going to share with you some of those things that I've learned. Now, we are not going to talk a lot about products then, because when we have this business mindset training program, we normally will get into where we have 2 of these a week. The reason that these are set up is because of this reason. I started to recruit a lot of people who were extremely smart, but had a hard time recruiting and had a very hard time building a business, had a hard time explaining the product and selling the product. And so what we started to do is just say, okay, let's get together at least 1 to 2 times a week, and then we will set up a schedule, and this is the schedule. But this is the mindset, and then we're going to dive into some training here. But I'm going to run through some of the insight of the secrets here. So I'm actually calling this the mindset of training. Now, one of the seminars that I've done over the years is called the Goal Achiever, and this is the premise for the business format system. Because one of the things I want each of you to do is to determine at the end of this meeting exactly what you want, which is your goal, and then I'm going to show you how to get it. And then I just want you to duplicate this, and then this core group that's listening to this presentation will become the leadership of this company. Now, I want to say this. Earlier this week, Dr. Warren and I, who is one of the other co-founders of the company, he and I had a meeting with 4 of the top distributors, and if I said the companies that they represent, you would instantly know who they are. But they sell different things like essential oils, they sell different things like diet programs, they sell different things like skincare products. All of them are friends, and they wanted to know more about our product because we gave them samples, and they wanted to see how they could either take our products, start their own company, or join this company. And at the end of that, Dr. Warren and I realized that these guys are hungry for some really good products. Now, that being said, in multi-level marketing organizations, 95% of the products that are sold are inferior products. Do you agree with that? Okay. But what they are good at is marketing. But if you can put together a great marketing system with phenomenal products, I mean, you've really got a home run. So again, today is May 19th. Mark this day down in your calendar, because a year from now, I'm going to make a prediction that some of the people in this room will be making more than $20,000 to $50,000 a month, just for the fact that you're here at the beginning part of this. So let's jump into this, okay? Now, first of all, goal setting and goal achieving are 2 very different things. Now, I've taught seminars on just goal setting, but quite frankly, setting a goal means nothing. Years ago, I used to work when I got out of the military and I was starting to date my wife, I started to work as a fitness instructor at a gym. Now, how many of you have ever joined a gym? Okay. Do you know this was something that struck me? On January 1st and through the first couple of weeks of January, we probably did 80% of all the sales of the gym, right? And that's because everybody's setting a New Year's resolution. And by the end of January, we had the exact same number of people that showed up to the gym throughout the rest of the year. And each and every year, we would sign up hundreds of more people joining the gym, but the gym never expanded. Why is that? The walls of the gym, I mean. But it's the same 50 people that showed up every day. Why is that? And that's because, quite frankly, people set goals, but only 2% of the people statistically know how to achieve goals. And that's what we're going to talk about here. So, one of the things that we talk about, especially when we're dealing with the laws of the universe and the law of attraction and the secret, is this great saying that Dr. Werner von Braun, who is the head rocket scientist under the Kennedy Space Exploration Program that took a man to the moon, and he said, "The laws of this universe are so precise that we have no difficulty building a spaceship, sending people to the moon, and we can time the landing with the precision of a fraction of a second." So if you just do exactly what I have done in my past, you could have that same growth rate. Next year, you could be walking away with $250,000. 4 years from now, you could be walking away with $1 million a year if you follow the exact laws that we're going to be talking about. So we're going to talk about results, and I want to ask you a question. Are the results in your life right now the results that you're happy with? Or is there something better and bigger and fuller that you would like to have in your life? Now, I think that the average person would look at this and say, you know what? There's a huge difference in the results that people experience in life, right? So why is it that only so few people know the secrets to attaining great wealth or great happiness or phenomenal relationships or have the ability to travel the world, travel the country? And that's because what I'm about to share with you. First of all, we're going to talk about developing what your purpose is in life individually, what your vision is, and then, of course, goals. And it starts with your purpose. What is your why? Why are you here? Now, I said we have phenomenal products, but this meeting here, this is the product. The business opportunity is the #1 product that we have in AboutFaceology. Okay. So James Allen said, who wrote the book As a Man Thinketh in 1903, said, until thought was linked with purpose, there is no intelligent accomplishment. So let's look at the word intelligence. First of all, the definition of the dictionary says is the ability to learn and understand or deal with new or trying situations. How many of you have new or trying situations in your life right now? Or have been through new and trying situations? Okay, we all have. All right. So, but it is the ability to learn and understand or how to deal with that. All right, now, your results are, you're going to learn here that our results in life are just an expression of your level of awareness. So, I want this little yellow dot to represent your level of awareness. And so, as you expand your level of awareness, you see different things. And I want you to picture it like this. Let's say that we're climbing a mountain. We have a view of our surrounding here at the base of the mountain. We start to climb the mountain. Our view changes, correct? The mountain didn't change, just our view of it because we're at a different perspective. Now, a person doesn't earn $50,000 a year because they want to make $50,000 a year. They earn $50,000 a year because they're not aware of how to make $50,000 a month. Now, stupid question of the day, who wants to make $50,000 a month? All right, so all you have to do is find a system of somebody else that makes $50,000 a month, do exactly what he or she does, and boom, you're going to be there. Okay? As you increase your level of awareness, obviously the view changes as you're climbing that mountain of life. Okay? So this is an awareness factor. Now, the main thing is to keep the main thing. So what is the main thing? Well, it is life itself. The greatest thing in life is being alive, to experience as much as you can experience, to travel when you want to buy the clothes you want to go to the nice restaurants that you want to go on the vacations of a lifetime that you want to. So the main thing is it's all about life, and if you keep that in perspective while you're climbing that mountain, things are going to change for us. Now here's a question. What is the primary cause of your results? Now, a lot of people haven't figured that out. A lot of people are realizing, their income may suck, their jobs may suck, their relationships may suck, their circumstances may suck, and they don't understand it. In fact, sometimes we feel like we're running on a treadmill of life. We're just not getting everywhere. Day in and day out, we do our best, we're honest, we're ethical, we try to help other people, yet our situation stays the same year after year, or sometimes it gets worse. So, we have to address what's the primary cause, and the primary cause is our attitude. Now, attitude controls the quality of everything in your life. So what's the definition of attitude? Well, the definition is, it is your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. Those three things combined determine what your attitude is. Now, the other thing that we need to realize is that, in fact, write this down if you got a pad and paper, because if you understand what I'm about to say, it'll be a key here. I am not a body. I live in a body. I'm not a body, I live in a body. One of the things about our potential is it is infinite. And we're going to find out that there's a difference between our spiritual body and our physical body. The spiritual body has limitations. In fact, 2 years ago, almost to the day, I was in getting a prosthetic knee replacement surgery. I have a huge limitation now, but my spirit knows no limitation. I can create almost any magnificent thought that I have in my life. So the very first thing that we have to develop is an understanding that is we have no limitations when we focus on our spirit, and our spirit lies in our heart, mind, and soul. So here's the relationship. We are spiritual creatures living in a physical body. And what connects those two is our intellect. And we'll see here in just a minute how our intellect, and remember what is intelligence? The definition again?
The ability to learn from your mistakes.
Okay, that's a good summary. Is how does the spiritual you and the physical you, how does the spiritual you that has no limitation connect with the physical you that does have limitation? And it is intellect. Now, if we look at this, E stands for energy. And we are spiritual creatures living in a physical body connected by our intellect or our intelligence. Okay? Now, this little W is going to represent water. So I'm going to give you another analogy here. Water, when it is in a glass state, is in a physical state, correct? Now, have you ever heard the saying that nobody can create nor destroy water? All the water that was here on the earth 10,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago, is the exact same amount of water that there is today, okay? So when water is heated up, it changes form, okay? It goes to steam. So the little s represents steam. You continue to look at that steam, and eventually it'll vaporize into the erythral, or into air. Now, here is water, steam, air. It has been neither created nor destroyed. When water is in a physical state, it is confined to the glass that it's in. But when it's in air or erythral, it could go anywhere in the universe. All right? So the same as physical, intellectual, spiritual. Okay? Now, if you want, here's a good example. How many of you have ever seen, those of you who are maybe a little bit older, the way that they used to temper glass is they used to put a little screen in the glass that kind of binded the glass together. And then they would put it together and heat it. But then when you look through the glass, you couldn't see that little grate. But if you broke the glass, you could see all of a sudden the wire mesh in it. How many of you remember seeing that? Okay, everybody's shaking their head. All right. So imagine that little, these lines represent the connection. As we heat up or go into a different state, and we change forms. It's neither created nor destroyed, we just change forms. So we're connected at every level. Now, so we have our spiritual, our intellect, our physical. When we have an idea, and you have a goal and objective to make money, to change people's lives, to live a different, this is an idea. And so far, those thoughts right now are floating up around. So you have thoughts in your head that you're not thinking about, but if I give you maybe a suggestion, or you created a suggestion, like, could you imagine yourself riding a red elephant? Okay? I pulled those thoughts out, and now it's an idea. Now in your mind, you're picturing riding a red elephant, as scary or as fun as that may sound. Now, the idea, if we understand, will eventually give us the results in the physical. Oops. Okay? So it works down this spiral as if it's going down from the spiritual to the physical side. So I want you to read this. Who's got good eyesight? Blanche, can you read that okay?
Yeah.
Please read that as fast as you can.
I couldn't believe that I could actually understand what I was reading. The phenomenal power of the human mind. According to research team at Cambridge University, it doesn't matter in what order the letters in a word are. The important thing is that the first and last letters be in the right place. The rest can be a total mess, and you can still read it without a problem. This is because the human mind does not read every letter by itself, but the word as a whole. Amazing, huh? Yeah, and you always thought spelling was important.
Okay. So could everybody read that? Was it pretty simple? All right. So it doesn't necessarily have to be this great, but you got the idea of what it was trying to do. Your mind has a phenomenal ability to take something out of chaos and turn it into order. That's going to be very important for us in just a little bit. Okay. Their brains become magnetized with the dominating thoughts which they held in their minds, and by a means with which most men are not familiar, these magnets attracted to them the forces, the people, and the circumstance of life, which were in harmony with the nature of their dominating thoughts. Okay? So this is starting to give us a little bit of a clue to the inside of our current results. Okay? We're talking about thoughts now, thoughts and ideas. Now, you know, I talk about this concept here. If I were to have an acorn in my hand, is that acorn an oak tree? Or does that acorn have the potential to be an oak tree? Potential, or is it? Okay. So how does the acorn turn into the oak tree? Well, it's got to react, right? It's got to have different frequencies or different chemical reactions. It's got to be planted in soil. It's got to extract nutrients from the soil. It's got to get some water, and it's going to start a chain reaction. Now, the oak tree has always been present in the potential, which means that you individually have the potential to make whatever goal that you want. Better car, better house, better relationships, more money. Doesn't matter, the potential's there. Now, if we look at this, in 1934, there was a chiropractor in San Antonio, Texas, down in the field where Dr. Moore is right now, and his name was Dr. Thurman Fleet. And he was very, very concerned with the medical profession because he said, the problem that my profession has is we treat the symptom. We're always giving medication or we're always doing a surgery to try to treat the symptom, but that's not the issue. We have to treat the cause. So what he said was, we're doing medicine completely wrong. In fact, in 1934, his prediction came true. It is now, research after research shows that over 80 to 90% of all disease, cancers, liver problems, no matter what it is a function of the mind. So if you have problems in your mind, it could give itself a result, and we'll see how it gives itself a result in sickness, in physical sickness. So he said, you know what, we have to understand what we think. And so how do we think? Well, we think in pictures. If I were to say to you, picture your car, immediately a picture of your car will flash onto the screen of your mind, not the word car. And if I were to say, what does your front door look like? A picture of your front door will flash onto the screen of your mind. If I were to say, what was the last, the last restaurant that you went to? A picture goes into the screen of your mind. Okay, so we think in pictures. Human beings think in pictures. So then he said, give me a picture of your mind, the most powerful infinite tool that you have. What's a picture of your mind? Okay, most common answer, all at once, 1, 2, 3.
The brain.
The brain, okay. But the brain is not the mind. The brain is an organ in the body. The brain is nothing more than a chemical transition station. That's all it does is process chemicals. So we think in pictures. So what he did is he said, okay, we've got to have a picture of the mind. If we're going to develop any type of success, whether it's financially, physically, emotionally, or familiar, whatever the case may be, we have to have a picture. So he drew this magical graphic. So now he said we have a picture of the mind. So then he drew a little stick man and drew a little fat circle underneath it, but he made the mind dramatically bigger than the body. And then he drew a line in the middle of it, and he says, this is our mind, this is our body. So now we get an understanding of the results in our life. The top part of it, he said, this is our conscious mind. The bottom of it, he said, this is our subconscious mind. Now, the conscious mind is the thinking mind. This is where we have the ability to reason, to make decisions, to look at our situation, our environment, or use our imagination, perception, memory, will, whatever, and think of different things. But the subconscious mind is the emotional mind. Now, the emotional mind doesn't have the ability to think. This is the part of you that's your little genie. This is the part of you that does whatever the thinking mind does. And so when you're thinking good thoughts, the emotional mind says, you know what, things are good. When we're thinking bad thoughts, then the emotional mind starts to think bad thoughts as well. Because the emotional mind is mindless. It doesn't have the ability to make a distinction between right and wrong, good and evil. All right? So you choose your thoughts, and your thoughts cause you feelings. Now, feelings are, let me give you an example of a good feeling. Get a phone call, hey, you just won the lottery, here's $1 million. What happens to you emotionally? Excited? How do you represent excitement in your life? Does your body physically change? Do you feel better? You feel good? Okay. What if you received another phone call and it's something like, hey, listen, the IRS is on its way. They just seized your bank account. They're going to take everything you own. Okay. Does that cause a different set of feelings? Yeah. Do you physically react differently when you're sad or unhappy or scared? Absolutely it does. So what happens is your body ends up showing itself when your feelings are expressed in your actions. I will walk over to you, get you mad. You accept that anger, all of a sudden you want to hit somebody. All of a sudden I walk over and I tell you how great you are, that we love you, you're the best. All of a sudden you want to reach out and hug somebody. Very different actions based upon thoughts and feelings. Now let's dive into this. So your actions produce results. So we have the mind again. We have the body. We have a line in it that divides our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. We also have 5 physical senses. We can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. Most people, when they're making decisions in their lives, they use these 5 physical senses. But can animals see? Can animals hear? Can animals smell? Can animals taste? And can they touch? So what's the difference at this point between us and the animal kingdom? Well, based upon those 5 physical senses, not much. So what Thurman Fleet said is, you know what? I'm going to add this. I'm going to draw 5 antennae. Pretend like it's sticking out of your head. So you're making decisions upon our current environment, our current situation. And all of a sudden, that now goes into our conscious mind. So somebody tells you, Blanche, you can become a millionaire. You have the ability to become a millionaire. You have the ability to say, you know what? Nope, not based upon my bank account, the car that I drive, the current situation that I have, and I've never been able to make $1 million, so I don't believe you. That's a choice, right?
Yeah.
But somebody else could look at that and say, you know what? If that guy can do it, sure as hell, I can do it too. So what we need to do is look at the God-given 6 higher senses. And this is the key component here. Now, what are the higher senses? The first one is perception. Now, if you were on the conference call the other day, I gave you an example. In one of the seminars I was doing this, there was an African-American lady sitting in the front row, and she was wearing a black blouse. So I walked up to her and I said, ma'am, when people look at you, would they say that you're black? And she said, well, of course I am. And I said, when they look at me, would they say that I'm white? And she says, well, yeah, of course. And I said, what color is your blouse? She said, black. And I said, what color is my shirt? And she said, white. And I said, am I the same color as my shirt? And in fact, if you saw a person as color as my shirt, you would be so scared you'd run away because you'd think it's a ghost. So then the question is, if you're not really black and I'm not really white, why do they call you black, me white? Answer is?
Perception.
Perception. And she said, well, because that's the way that people see us. And I said, well, how do they see us? And they said, well, we see with our eyes. Well, we don't see with our eyes. We see through our eyes, and the cells in our brain cause a reaction that we perceive something to be this way or that way. But this is a higher sense. So we can perceive something to be phenomenal or something to be dreadful. The next highest sense is will. Now, what is will? So, Tyler, we've been talking about this for a while. What is will?
Focus. It's the
So focus, concentration.
yeah.
Okay.
It's how much
Focus,
sustain, concentration.
Okay, this isn't willpower. This is the ability to hold a concept or hold a thought process. Now, the biggest problem is, you know that the human brain can only keep a thought for an average of 8 seconds. And then our mind starts to wander. In fact, we're going to do an exercise in a little bit. So sustained concentration is a very difficult thing to do. We have to be able to think of what we want long term, and that is the key to the law of attraction. Next one is imagination. Now, imagination was, Albert Einstein said, the imagination is the most powerful nation in the world because it knows no boundaries. It has no limitations. And so imagination gives us that ability to daydream, to think that something big or something, I want this, I want fuller expression, I want a big house in San Diego on the beach, I want a house on the French Riviera, I want to fly on my own private jet. You have that ability to imagine that. Now that is one of the distinct ones that separates you from the animal kingdom too. The other one is memory. We have the ability to go into the cells of recognition of the mind to say, you know what, I'm not going to do that again because last time I burned myself. Or I did this last time and it felt real good. So it's a function of pleasure and pain. Now, Tony Robbins talks about that ability to draw upon pleasure or pain to be able to achieve whatever it is that we want. And it all boils down to memory, using that component. The next one is intuition. Now, how many of you are moms? How many of you would say that you have an intuitive nature on when your kids were being bad? All right. My wife reminds my 3 kids of this constantly because human beings have an ability to use instinct. Now, the instinct of an animal kingdom goes on our limbic system. And the limbic system is that flight or fight response. But intuition at a higher level, you can recognize the situation that, you know what, this may be a good opportunity, or I shouldn't turn left and I shouldn't turn right. But at the same time, if you don't listen to intuition, you lose that ability. And some people have mastered the ability to harness their instincts or their feelings or their gut feeling, whatever that is. And the last one is reason. This is the one thing that separates us from the animal kingdom. This is the ability to make those decisions. Animals function at the limbic fight or flight response. They have no ability to look at a situation and say, you know what, I'm not going to go there. They just do it. They go through instinct, okay? Lower senses, higher senses. Bad decisions, great decisions. Okay? All right. Now, when we start to use our imagination or we start to use the higher senses, we can develop good positive thoughts. Now, thoughts are nothing more than a vibration. It's a wave. And all of a sudden now, these feelings can be expressed in the emotional mind. So, a review. Thinking mind, subconscious mind causes our feelings. We get into a good rhythm here. All of a sudden now, we're developing a vibration. A vibration is another form for a law of attraction. And all of a sudden, we start to get different results. So, again, we can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. If we make decisions using that activity and we look at the results here, we can say, you know what, I don't like the car that I'm driving in. I don't like the house that I'm living in. I don't like the relationship that I'm in. I don't like the value of my bank account. I don't like my income. This is an unwanted result, right? And so all of a sudden now, how do we get over that? We have our conscious mind, which is also our intellectual mind, and the mind can think. You can accept or reject any message, any thought, any circumstances that's either originated by you or given to you by an outside source. The subconscious mind is your emotional mind. It cannot choose, it cannot reject, it cannot do anything but accept whatever the conscious mind has coming into it. So the subconscious mind must accept an image. It cannot differentiate between that which is real or imagined. Now, I could go on and talk to you about case study after case study after case study where people were trained how to just use their mind, even in an athletic forum, and they could outperform their competition who were physically training with the bats and the balls and on the court. Imagination, much more important. So now let's look at this. Let's take the conscious mind off of a brand new baby, because the baby doesn't have, in fact, babies can't even recognize self-awareness until they're on an average of 2 years old. So a baby doesn't have a conscious mind, so we're going to completely remove it. So all we have is the baby's mind. Now, the baby is in an environment where thoughts, images, ideas from his environment, from parents, brothers, sisters, are now going down into the subconscious mind. These ideas are becoming fixed. In fact, you heard me on the first conference call say that if you happen to be born into a family that's on welfare, you have about a 60% chance of you staying on welfare. If you're a second generation welfare child, it increases to about 80%. Yet, if you were born into an affluent house, you have about a 60% chance, almost exactly, of getting a college education. What's the difference between those babies other than their environment where they're born? Now, it doesn't mean that you can break through it, but it does mean that the proclivity of you becoming just like your parents is pretty strong because of all this. So a baby, at birth, your mind is completely wide open. So your mind is being conditioned by the circumstances and the people around you. So your self-image is being formed. And one of the worst things that's happened over the last probably 30 years is the self-image that the media has portrayed about our weight loss, about our body image, right? It's been one of the biggest destructive factors out there because prior to the TV being born, and especially prior to the 1970s and the 1980s when the internet was starting to come upon, we really didn't have much of an image problem, correct? I mean, you think about that? So what's different? Well, the foods that we eat, but also the image that we are being forced to understand. This is called a paradigm. Now, what is a paradigm? We're going to look at this in just a second. So we have paradigms that are stuck inside of our conscious mind. When I joined that multi-level marketing organization, I had a paradigm that I had grown up with a father who was a school teacher, and his philosophy of making money was get a college education and go to work, well, and you'll do fine. Well, as a school teacher, when my father retired in 1988, he was making $33,000 a year max. That was his peak. Now, that's not the type of lifestyle that I want to live on. You know how many vacations my family took? 0. In fact, going down to Flaming Gorge was the extent of our vacations. And that was mostly on Easter. And that was just pack the hot dogs and the marshmallows, and all of a sudden, that's our family vacation. You know why? It wasn't because he didn't want to go on vacation, because he didn't have any money to do it. In fact, I have 10 brothers and sisters, so imagine 10 brothers or 11 kids, $33,000 a year back in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. There's no money there. All right. So paradigms. So what is a paradigm? Well, let's start to look at how to change those. So our conscious mind, we think dreams, we daydream, we use those 6 higher senses to get whatever it is that you want. We feel the emotions for it. Those emotions cause a vibration in the cells of our body, and all of a sudden now it will either lead us into a physical action to do something, or it will start to attract something from an outside force to come to us. So action, conditions, and circumstances cause a reaction to our environment, and all of a sudden we get the results. So we get the feeling, oh, you know what? I'm used to living and growing up in a family that's on welfare. So this is what I do. I just stay poor. I'm not happy with it, and I'm comfortable. And some people are so comfortable in misery that they don't know anything different. So, you know that old saying, misery loves company? So they stay in that state, knowing that they want something with a fleeting desire once in a while, but for the most part, they're okay with that. Now, the question is, are you okay with that with your situation, or do you want something better? Okay? I would assume that since you're here, or since you're listening on camera, that you want something different. Now, review again. The mind, the body. Your paradigms must change before there will be any real improvement in your life. Some of you in here will make a tremendous amount of money. Some of you won't. The difference is whether or not you are going to allow your existing paradigms to determine what you're going to do tomorrow. Some of you will say, you know what, I got this. I got this. In fact, some of you might say, I know James, and if he got it, I'm there. Okay? Our 5 physical senses, these are our lower senses. All right? We allow certain situations to influence our decisions. You are given the ability to consciously and deliberately think anything that you want to think. Our subconscious mind, you can let yourself become emotionally involved with your thoughts. So to become emotional means to move in a certain direction. You choose the emotion, happy or sad, good or bad. All right? When we let emotion come into our life, now all of a sudden our body, which is the material medium, makes that expression in our results in our environment. So emotions control your action and your reaction. Okay, everybody stand up. And those of you who are listening in different states around the country, I want you to do this exercise. All right, we're going to give you an example of your physical self compared to your higher self. Everybody put your arms out. And I want you to keep your feet planted and turn as far as you can without hurting yourself. And try to look with your left eye, or if you turn right, with your right eye, and find a point on the wall. Okay? Now come back. Remember that point. Now put your arms down, close your eyes. Closing your eyes now, I want you to imagine yourself lifting your arms up and turning now and looking at that point. Now, with your eyes still closed, I want you to go a foot further, turning in your mind beyond the point. Okay? Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Put your arms out. Turn and see how far you look. All right. Through just a little bit of vision, go ahead and sit down. How many of you saw further in your mind and then physically you were able to do it when just moments before your body gave you limitations? Okay? Question?
No, I just said that was amazing.
Yeah, okay. All right. So the image that you impress upon your subconscious mind, okay, so we're going to think thoughts, we're going to impress it upon our subconscious mind, controls your vibration, and your vibration controls what you attract. Now, currently right now, Dr. Warren and I are writing a book about weight loss and diet. And one of the things that research has told us is over and over and over again, that the way that we image ourselves today, right now, is the way that our body looks. We change the thought, and now all of a sudden, we can get a different body image. And we'll see how science proves this right or wrong. Now, we're going to give you some tools here in just a little bit, but it's all in the mind. That's the key here. So now we set a goal. Now, goal setting is a process of using the higher sense of imagination. You have to determine what it is that you really want. Not what you think you can get, but what it is that you really want. Now, just for an example, if you got a pen and paper, since we're talking about a business opportunity, we're talking about money, I would like you to write down an income goal of how much money you would like to write per month. Now, I don't want you to think about how you're going to do it. What do you want? First instinct, write it down, okay? Okay. Now, when we're setting goals, we follow this strategy of A, B, and C. Let's talk about how successful people set goals and unsuccessful people set goals. Let's see why the gyms of the nation sell more and more memberships each and every year, but their walls stay exactly the same. They have the same people showing up, okay? So first of all, most people say, okay, I'm going to make a goal. They look at their present results. So most people, let's say they're making $4,000 a month. They say, okay, I think maybe I can make $4,200 a month. That's more money. So they make the decision based upon what they think that they can do based upon present results. Now, another way to do it is to go to the B level, is they make a plan. And they think, what I think I can do. What I think I could do. So they're making decisions based upon what their physical body can do. I can work more hours, I can get a second job, and that's the way that most people make more money, right? Second job, longer hours. Now, the fantasy factor is what I want, okay? Now, when I was growing up, I'm the youngest of 7 boys, and so I was always telling my dad and my older brothers what I was going to do for a living. Holy cow, did I ever receive the punishment as a kid, because there was no way that I could ever do this. Now, I support 2 of my brothers. Both of them who beat the snot out of me because I was always telling them that I wasn't going to live the life that they were doing, and I wasn't going to. I'm from Carbon County, down in Price. Most people from Carbon County, they go work for the mines or you become a school teacher. I wasn't going to have any of that. I wasn't going to go work for the mines, and I wasn't going to become a school teacher. All right, so we have these 3 categories. So here's what happens. When people start to get into this factor, conditioning pulls them back down to a lower factor. How many of you ever heard the saying, get your head out of the clouds and your feet on the ground? What they're telling you is, stop thinking big thoughts and think little thoughts. And they did it maybe unconsciously or unknowingly, that they are destroying your ability to dream. All right? So we eliminate the fantasy. We forget what it is that we really want. Or if that thought comes in that I really want to do something, it's there for a fleeting moment, and it's just like a butterfly. It flies off in a matter of seconds. Okay? So we take what we know. We say, I think I can do a little bit better. This reinforces what we know. And they said, yep, I can do that. And then it goes back, and it's a vicious cycle. And so year after year after year, people rarely get ahead. They rarely start their own company. They rarely build a big downline. They rarely get to the point where they're making $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month. Now, just out of curiosity, how many of you wrote in your monthly income goal 20 grand a month? Okay. For some reason, after seminar after seminar after seminar, $20,000 a month is the #1 answer. And I probably asked that question to 20,000 people in my career. What is it about $20,000 per month that makes the difference? Because think right now, if you're making at least $20,000 a month, could you quit your present job? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Could you kind of travel wherever you wanted to go?
Yes.
Could you go to any restaurant that you wanted to go eat at?
Yeah.
And in fact, if you had $20,000 a month consistent revenue coming into your business, would you go to the restaurant and read the menu left to right or right to left? Yeah. All right. So, Earl Nightingale said that is why success for most people remains a puzzle. In fact, we could say remains a mystery. So most people are extras in their own movie. They say to themselves, you know what, that person can make money, that person can be successful, that person can be skinny, that person can have a great relationship, that person can, but I can't because I've got all these reasons why. It reinforces our. So the question that I keep asking is, what is it that you really want? What do you want out of this business? Okay, I'm going to pick on you a couple of times. Craig, what is it that you really want out of this?
I want to create my own success. I don't want to do working for somebody else. I have to follow the rules, the regulations. So
Okay.
I want to have the freedom, the financial
Right. state
of mind.
Okay, you want to be your own boss. That's what you really want. Okay. One of the reasons I couldn't stay in the military, I hate being told what to do. Okay. What's another want that somebody has? Heather, what's your want? What do you really want?
$100,000 a month.
$100,000 a month. Okay. Now here's the big question. Why?
Because of all the opportunities it will allow me.
Okay.
Family, travel.
So you're saying that if you had $100,000 a month, you would have other opportunities you could take advantage of?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you know anybody that does that?
You.
All right. Okay. So we now have, moving into the function of how to accomplish this goal. We have fantasy, fact, or fantasy, theory, in fact. The fantasy is our wants. Now, here's our fantasy. Our fantasy is we want something really great, $100,000 a month, be our own boss, have our own business, drive a Lamborghini, whatever it is, whatever floats your boat. There are theories of how I can do it. I can win the lottery, maybe I can steal it, or I can figure out a way to attract it. I can earn it. Well, some of you were offended, huh? You know, one of the most famous bank robbers, his first name was Willie. And when Willie was asked, why do you rob banks? And he said, that's because that's where the money's at. How wrong he was, okay? The money isn't in the bank. The money is in our thoughts. And if he just would have learned the secrets of how to attract wealth and success into his life, I mean, what does the average bank robber get when he robs a bank? It's like $1,600 or something like that, and then they spend 30 years in prison. Right. Okay. So the theory rests in our conscious mind. We have the ability to think about it, okay? We're developing strategy here. Now, there's two questions that you have to ask. Are you able to make $100,000 a month?
Absolutely.
Okay. Are you able to be your own boss?
Yes.
Are you able to buy something that somebody else has bought that you want?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not talking about coveting here. I'm just saying if somebody else can do it, you are able to. Because remember that when we were babies, we're all born with the same potential. We all have the same potential right now. It's just we're making different choices. The difference between the right side of the room and the left side of the room is the choices that you've made. The difference between my income and maybe your income, Craig, is the thoughts and the decisions that we've made along the way. But if I'm able to do something, you can do it. And if I want something that somebody else has been able to do it, then they could do it. You know what would you like to know what my present income goal is, and you can see if this is going to come true? See, one of the things I wanted to do for years and years and years is I wanted to become a millionaire. It's like, man, if my world could become a millionaire, wow, what would I do? And you know, it took me 4 years to do it since I made the decision I'm going to become a millionaire. Then I wanted to know what it's like to make $1 million a month. And there have been months where I've been able to make over $1 million a month. Because it's one thing to be a millionaire, but it's another thing to make $1 million a year, and it's another thing to make $1 million a month. My present goal, my present income goal among all my other goals is I want to make $5 million a month. That's my goal. Okay. Now I'm not close to $5 million a month, but I will be by the end of this year. So you can hold my feet to the fire, and I'll be happy to share with you my tax returns too if you want to press me on it. Okay. And the reason why is because 5 years ago, I didn't know how to make $5 million a month. Now, some of you might be thinking, that is just ludicrous and crazy. Well, where you're at right now, I once was, okay? And where I'm at now, you can too become based upon if we think the same thing. All right, so the next question is, am I willing to make the sacrifice? Am I willing to do the things that I have to do in order to make the dream come true? This means, do I want it bad enough? Now, the example I've told my staff is, there was a time where Jack Nicholson, the great golfer, was being interviewed, and one of the interviewers said, "Hey, Mr. Nicholson, I would do anything to be like you." And he became extremely frustrated, and he turned and walked over to the reporter, took one of his golf clubs. Everybody was fearful he's going to knock the guy off. He snapped the golf clubs, threw it on the ground, and he looked at the reporter and said, "No, you don't. You don't wish that you were like me, because if you were like me, you'd get up at 5:30 in the morning, you'd go to the golf court, you would hit balls until your hands were so sore and calloused and started to bleed. Then you'd go eat lunch, and then you'd come back and you do it again until 6 o'clock. Then you go eat dinner, and then you do it until you couldn't see anymore. And then the next morning, you'd get up and do exactly the same thing. You do it day after day after day after day." So Jack Nicholson understood what he wanted. The reporter was just doing a fleeting wish. See the difference? Okay? Now, am I willing to do? So we set a goal. Whatever it is, the goal that you want to accomplish out of this company. The goal now, if you impress upon your subconscious mind the idea of that goal long enough, strong enough, using your will to have sustained concentration throughout the day, then eventually your subconscious mind will start to accept it. The subconscious mind now will reinforce that, you know what, it is possible. I can make a decision based upon my circumstances and the people that I run, the people or the books that I read, and I will learn the how to do it, whether I physically go do it or I have enough sustained concentration that the universe will give it to me. Now, I will have to tell you that a lot of the times where I figured out I want something, I would figure out a physical game plan to go do it with sustained concentration. And ironically, even when I started to make some serious money, the sources of the money that came to me had nothing to do with what I was physically doing, but I was thinking about it all the time. So you do not have to know how to achieve your goal. Most people make the mistake that your goal, in your mind, you start to use your 5 lower physical senses of developing a plan in your mind on how you're going to do this. That's the wrong answer. You have to just hold the image in your mind. The answers will come to you in time. All right, or circumstances will come to you in time. All right, fact now, you've accomplished the goal. Now, all of a sudden, your spirit is going to always seek fuller and bigger expansion, because your spirit is always saying you can do better. No matter what your situation is, the human spirit or your spirit always says, I can do better. I want a little bit more. It isn't because you're greedy. It isn't because you're selfish. It's just because your spirit is telling you, you have the ability to accomplish more, to affect more lives, to make more money, to help other people, to help your family, to support your family. You will always have a bigger and better fantasy when you get caught up in this situation. This is called the creative process, and it's a cycle. You continue to do this over and over and over again. Earl Nightingale also said, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So this is where we start to get into understanding our vision. And at some point, you're going to attend one of these conference calls or one of these trainings, and we're going to have a hardcore session on developing your personal vision and your personal purpose. So again, what is it that you really want? If you leave here today not knowing what you want, or at least knowing that you want something different, then I wasted my time and I wasted your time. I want you to leave here, when you walk out that door, you know what? That's what I want. That's it. That's what I'm going for. That's where my energy is going to. I want that. Whatever that is to you, and if you get that emotional about it, that's the beginning first step of a phenomenal journey. Okay? All right. So let's forget about what most people do. This is not what successful people do. What they do is they go straight to the fantasy. They close their eyes when they have those quiet moments. They see what it is that they want. They believe it. They believe if somebody else can do it, so can I. They then believe that they can do it. Okay, now when this happens, look at this. Now, who knows who Sir Edmund Hillary is? Okay, who is he?
He climbed Mount Everest.
Okay, was he the 5th person to climb Mount Everest?
I don't know. I don't remember.
First.
He was the first. Okay, so at what point did Sir Edmund Hillary say, you know, I can do that?
Long before we got to the top.
Way long. In fact, he had failed multiple times, but he kept going back. So nobody showed him how to climb to the Mount Everest, because at that point, nobody had ever seen the top, but he knew it was there, but nobody had ever been there. So he would constantly imagine climbing to the top, standing at the summit, the top of the world, and saying, I did it. And eventually he did it. Now, know where you're going and know that you will get there. Now, there's another entire seminar that we talked about with faith. Okay. By the way, the concepts of this seminar, I've charged as much as $2,500 for like a week session. You get it for free. You paid the $99 to join AboutFaceology. And so you're going to get this stuff until you and I part this earth. Or until one of us quit, and it's not going to be me. All right?
Right.
Okay. Now, what about Dr. Werner von Braun? When President Kennedy came to him and said, you know, Dr. von Braun, what will it take to get a man to the moon? Because they wanted to beat Russia. And Dr. von Braun said, the will to do it. That's as short as his answer was. Know where you're going and know that you will get there. Now, Sir Edmund Hillary had faith and belief in himself. Dr. Werner von Braun was a rocket scientist. He was a mathematician. He knew that it was possible. It is just in the math. Now they just had to physically build the spaceship and send it there. Okay? So you have to make a decision. One of the most detrimental factors to most people and their poverty levels, their unsuccessful levels, their poor relationships is they don't make a decision on what they want. You have to be firm in your decision. That is a common trait among some of the most successful men and women, some of the most successful political and religious leaders. Whether they're right or wrong didn't matter. It was the fact that they made a decision and they marched forward. Now, one of my mentors is a guy that, you know, he sold his company for $60 million a few years ago. And he said, James, here's my trick in life. Stay confused, but stumble forward. Now, what does that mean? That means I don't have to know how to do anything, but if I'm going to fall, I'm going to fall forward. And then with each one of those failures falling forward, I'm going to get better and better and better, and I'm going to develop a different insight. All right, so make your decision. Learn how to think. Now, some of us are going to go through this stage. We're going to look at a situation, and we're going to evaluate our comfort zone. Now, comfort zone is the way that we think and the way that we feel. And so here's what ends up happening. We get X results in our life because we're thinking X thoughts, which goes into our subconscious mind, and we get X vibration in our body, which gives us the result. Now, if you go back to what do you really want, if you don't want your present results, then we got a problem, right? Because you got to change the way that you're thinking, not what you're doing, because the thinking becomes before the doing to get the different result. So here's what ends up happening. We think X, we get X, and we get the expression through our body, and we get the X results. Now, this is called our comfort zone. Now, we look at our 5 physical senses out here, and we're saying, you know what, good or bad. We start to make decisions. And so now all of a sudden, you join AboutFaceology, and you start to come to these meetings. You get on the conference calls every week. You start to listen to this message over and over. And you start to get a why idea that's outside of your comfort zone. You start to think, you know what? I would like $100,000 a month. I would like to own my own business and be my own boss. I would like to have a different house, a different car, and go on vacations. So you start to get these why ideas outside of your head. And so all of a sudden, now, this why is coming into a territory that's unfamiliar to it. Now, when this why idea starts to come into play here, now there's a concept called the terror barrier. And I have a CD on this. And if you ever want this CD, I'll give you the CD for free. Just email AboutFaceology admin. Okay? We have a why idea that now starts to play in the playgrounds of our subconscious mind, and we start to develop a different feelings, and now it starts to set up a different vibration. Now, what happens when you have different vibrations in, like, let's say this room started, right now it has a vibration and we perceive it as pretty calm. What if we're going through an earthquake? Is there a different vibration that this building is going to experience? What will happen to this building that starts to feel a different vibration?
It'll
Okay.
change its physical outcome.
All right, exactly. By the way, side note, the day that the first earthquake took place in Nepal, my wife and I were supposed to be on a plane to Nepal to climb the base camp. But we didn't go. Spent $13,000 on the trip. Intuition. Anyways, a week later, Nepal had another one. They still can't find some of the bodies in base camp. Amazing, isn't it? All right. So I look at those things and say, thank the universe, thank God that we didn't get on that plane. All right, so terror barrier. Now all of a sudden we hit this wall because this vibration is in conflict. It's incongruent with our current situation. Even like the process of starting a physical fitness program or a diet program, we're used to one way, we go through some changes and all of a sudden, does it get hard? Yeah, all of a sudden it becomes very hard. We hit a terror barrier. This is natural and normal on any endeavor where you're changing your situation. And know that it can be overcome, but know that it's normal. So now what happens is, in our conscious mind, we start to worry about it. Oh, I can't do this. This is going to be too hard. Fear is an expression in the subconscious mind. All right? This is the emotional mind. When you look at somebody and they're in terror for their lives, can you tell physically that they're scared? Absolutely. Okay? This starts to show up in the body with anxiety, right? I can't handle the pressure. I'm scared of it. And in fact, you know, Mike Isom and Dr. Warren and I own a drug rehab center. The number one cause of people starting to get addicted to drugs is they don't know how to deal with anxiety, so they want to suppress the idea in the conscious mind, so they take the drug that blocks off the receptors in the brain so that the fear goes away. Fear goes away, the anxiety goes away. But if they learn that this is a natural body reaction, that your body physically is okay, when you recognize it, you can deal with it. If you don't recognize it, it's scary. So now all of a sudden, the anxiety factor hits the terror barrier, and all of a sudden now, we go back to the comfort zone. That's why those gyms never have to build more or bigger walls or expand, because the guys that own the gym knows that as soon as they start to come and work out for a couple of days, they're going to go, oh man, I'm too sore. This is too hard. I don't have the time. They come up with every excuse, and they go back to not working out and not being physically fit, and they go right back to the comfort zone. Okay? Now we're talking about a grand movement here in AboutFaceology. So we want to understand that this is a natural occurrence for any entrepreneur about ready to start out on their own. But there's ways that we can get rid of it. Now, on the other side of the terror barrier wall is freedom. This is the $20,000 a month. This is the $100,000 a month. This is being your own boss. So how do we get rid of this? Well, we get rid of this because what we have to do is continually have the why idea. We don't have to know how to do it, but we constantly think about it. You have to be the director and the actor and the star in your own world. Now, let's say this. Play a quick little game. Let's say that I want to buy whatever car. What's somebody's favorite car? Dream car. Tesla? Okay. All right. One of my other business partners just bought a Tesla. Paid $150,000 cash for it. Okay. Because he always wanted a Tesla. All right. So you have the thought of a Tesla. Okay. Now, do you have the ability to use your imagination? Okay. Do you have the ability to pretend? Sure. So you're not driving a Tesla right now, right? Is it possible that when you're driving your car home tonight, if you drove here, that you could just pretend it's a Tesla? Sure. And guess what? If you pretend that it's a Tesla long enough, you'll get to the point where you're saying, you know what? It's time to go test drive the Tesla. Could you go test drive a Tesla? Okay. Do you know that if you test drive the car that you want, you have an 80% chance of getting it? The more often you test drive it, that you increase your odds substantially by getting that you want? Okay, so next week, here's my challenge to you. I want you to call the Tesla dealership, and I want you to schedule an appointment and go test drive it. All right? And by the way, I always wanted a Lamborghini. I went and test drove a Lamborghini years ago, but they're for little guys. Their seat was so small that my butt cheeks wouldn't even sit flat on the seat. So physically, I don't qualify. But if you pretend long enough, all of a sudden, you're going to trick your subconscious mind that this is natural and normal for you to drive a Tesla. In fact, how many of you know what a vision board is? Okay? If I wanted a Tesla, and if that's my thing, I'm going to create a video about Teslas. I'm going to take pictures of Teslas. I'm going to know everything they're doing. I'm going to know how many miles to the gallon it gets or how much electricity it can get. I'm going to know what the annual taxes are. I'm going to know everything to know about it. If I know everything about that, I'm constantly thinking about it. If I'm constantly thinking about it, something will happen where the law of attraction is going to give me the opportunity to have that, whether it's increased opportunity or maybe something that you don't expect. Maybe you have a long lost uncle that has a Tesla and he just passed away and left it in the will. You never know how you're going to get it, but if you understand this and continue to impress upon the subconscious mind through thought process, eventually the vibrations in your body are going to cause the law of attraction to come true. And all of a sudden, and it may take some time. Now, one of the questions that you should ask is, how long will it take me to accomplish my goal? How many of you are curious of that? Okay? All right, how many of you know who Dr. John DeMartini is, or heard that name? Okay? Dr. DeMartini is a friend of mine. In fact, he wrote the foreword to my book. And Dr. DeMartini was one of the guys that was in the movie The Secret. And one time, I used to host a radio show in Phoenix for a couple of years called the Healthy Practice Radio Show. And Dr. John DeMartini was on the show. And we had some people calling in, and one of the questions that was posed was, how long will it take for me to accomplish the goal if I understand and use the secret? And his answer was phenomenal. He said, the time frame in which you accomplish your goal is in direct proportion to the amount of energy that you give to it. That's in your mind. So the problem is, let's say that we have a goal, and I'm going to use the Tesla because this is a good goal. How often do you think of a Tesla throughout the day? Seriously.
Maybe twice.
Twice a day, okay. In the time frame that you're awake, let's say that happens to be 16 hours. In 16 hours, if you think of it twice, how much time in minutes or seconds do you think of a Tesla?
Probably like an hour.
An hour? Okay. So 1 hour compared to, that's actually kind of a lot for a lot of people. 1 hour compared to 16 hours, so that's 1/16. What do you think in the other 15 hours?
School.
School, okay. And other stuff, right? So the time that you spend is in direct proportion to the result that you have in your goal. So if you have an income goal, if you have a car goal, it's almost got to be more than 50% of the time. Now there's tricks that you can do. For example, you can do things that constantly remind you of your goal. Like, so who out there is currently wearing their watch on the other side of their body? All right, so there's tricks that you can play with your mind. So I do this, okay? Here's the example. Everybody fold your arms, okay? All right, notice which arm is on top, okay? Right or left, doesn't matter. Statistically, 50% of you have your right arm on top, the other 50% your left arm. Where did you learn to put your right arm on your top and your left arm on the bottom? At some point in your little life, your parents probably told you to fold your arms, or you were in church and they said, fold your arms, we're going to pray, or something to that effect. The first time that you did that was the first time that your brain started to recognize folding your arms. The more you did it, it became habit, okay? The more you did it, you become habit. Now, change your arms. It almost might be weird and uncomfortable. In fact, it's like feel physically awkward. Well, so that is changing a paradigm right now. Now, one of the reasons that Mike is wearing his watch on the other side is to train himself to fold his arms the different way, okay? Because now when you're changing the habit, you can change the paradigm, you change the paradigm, you change your thinking, you change your thinking, you change your emotions, you change your emotions, you start to change your physical body's vibration. When you change that, you get a different result over time. Okay, now if you're constantly doing that, and in fact, you had to consciously think about switching arms, didn't you? Now, if you did that every day, for say half an hour every day, how many days would it take you before it's just natural?
21.
Okay, all right. So not long, right? And after it's habit, it's paradigm, it's in there. Okay, all right. So we have to constantly think about our success. Now, thinking is kind of hard. So if a person will advance confidently in the direction of their dream and endeavor to live the life that they've imagined, they will meet with success unexpected in common hours. Now, Tyler has been working for me for many years. And when I retired in 2008 and had that time period just to goof off, a couple of years ago, Mike came knocking at my door and said, James, let's start a business together. Let's do this thing. So as soon as that started to happen, he says, you know what? I need multiple sources of income, multiple sources of income, multiple sources of income. In fact, that was my war cry ever since we started to do this. Now we have 7 companies that have the potential that combined to do close to $1 billion a year within the next 24 months. Multiple sources of income. Oh, I saw you smile on that, Mike, because Mike is partners in most of those companies. Okay? All right. So we got questions floating around. We got ideas. How do we change our paradigms? Okay, how do we do it? How do we change paradigm?
Change your thoughts.
Okay, your thoughts. How often you got to think of your thoughts that you want?
100%.
Constantly, constantly, constantly. Okay? A lifetime commitment to a daily program of self-improvement. Now, this message here, you may get some warm and fuzzies here. Some of you are like, this is real boring. But if you want to make these changes in a lifetime, you got to do this every day. I probably spend, on average, an hour to 2 hours a day listening to myself, reading books, Science of Getting Rich, constantly enriching my mind in personal development. So it is constant. Why repetition is necessary when changing paradigms? Well, repetition is the mother of all learning. Let's give you an example. Let's say you're listening to a CD, okay? And this line represents you listening to that CD. I told you before that the human brain only can keep a concentration for an average of 8 seconds. That means all of a sudden thinking of something else. And so all of a sudden you think of an idea, good or bad, and now you go onto a different plane. You're not present, listen to that. In fact, you probably had conversations where you're not present. And somebody says, did you just hear what I said? Or you read a book and you get through the end of the page and you say, what did I just read? Right? And that's because your brain isn't trained to sustain concentration. So then all of a sudden you realize, oh, yeah, listen to the music. So you go back to, Then all of a sudden, a few seconds later, all of a sudden you start to daydream again. You start to wander. And you can do this process over and over and over. So repetition is necessary to changing the paradigm because you're constantly being brought back mentally into that comfort zone. Okay? So again, what is the process to get what you want? Here's the formula. Knowing what you truly want. I've asked that over and over and over throughout tonight. Knowing what you truly want. Okay? Now, if you know what you truly want, how do we create the picture of what it is that we want? We use our imagination. Okay? We can get outside stimulus by getting pictures and watching movies or creating our own movies. Okay? We have the fantasy. We may live in this, but we want this. We may really want this. We make this kind of money, but we want this kind of money, which turns into this kind of money. We want a different wardrobe. We want different cars. So you can play the imagination and live in a fantasy. It's okay. Now, maybe your parents or school teachers told you, get your head out of the clouds and stop daydreaming. I'm telling you, if you want to be highly successful, you have to play in this world. You have to live in a fantasy. You have to dream in a fantasy. You have to talk to yourself in a fantasy. Okay? So if we know what we truly want, then we use gold cars. Now, currently right now, I have Jeremy Schumann, our Chief Marketing Officer, developing gold cars that will start to go out in the distributor kits. This is a gold card that you carry in your pocket. And I've carried my gold cards. In fact, I've had as many as 5 or 6 gold cards in my pocket, depending on what areas I want to do. It's a constant reminder. If you're a female carrying a purse, put it in your purse where you're constantly feeling around. Put it in your wallet. Put it somewhere where you're going to notice it. Okay? When you use your gold card, you're going to always remember the stick man, okay, and how we think. The conscious mind, subconscious mind, body gets us our results. All right? So, pick your target date. Be specific and very vivid. All right? I said December. By December, I'm going to be making $5 million a month. Write it like you already own it. Now, one of the things about the brain is you have to live in the present tense. So you always express your gratitude, you say your prayers, you thank your heaven, thank your universe, thank whatever God you believe in, always in the present form for what you want in the future. So if I'm doing this, I'm writing my goal, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm making $5 million a month, knowing that I haven't done that yet because it tricks the brain to get it to you right then and there, all right? All right, purpose, vision, goals. Now, our purpose is why are you doing what you're doing and how achieving this is going to make you feel. Your vision is the action steps that you need to take. This is your roadmap. And of course, your goal is what you really want to be, do, or have. Now, the vision will come to you. Proverbs says where there's no vision, the people perish. But you don't have to have the vision in the beginning. You have to have the goal. The vision will become because your spirit has infinite potential and your spirit will go out there and will find the answers and drag them back to you. There's a great book called The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. Write that down, look for it, read it. Okay? All right. So once we have our goal cards, you need to journal. Now, some of you have been told to journal. There's a process and a reason why you need to journal. This is something that you need to write to yourself all the things that you're grateful for and the things and the inspiration. And why? Because that is practice. No professional athlete or professional musician ever became a professional practicing once. Journalizing and writing in your journal and materializing what it is that you want on paper is an action process step that your brain needs to go through. All right. So, write a scene from your life with you being the director and the star, and be very specific. The more specific you are, the more tangible and real the goal will be, okay? Now, once we write in the daily journal, you have to use different visualization techniques. Now, I'm in the process of recording some on a couple different fronts. And so there's a lot out there. If you go to YouTube and type in just visualization music or visualization techniques, there's so much information out there that you have to use your imagination to visualize what it is that you want. All right? And so keep your mind in a relaxed state. So whatever it is that your goal is, just do this. Now, here's my routine in the morning. When I get up in the morning, first thing that I do is I will go to the kitchen and I'll get a big glass of water, okay? And then I'll kind of wake myself up. I'll walk around the house. I'll kind of look out. If the weather's nice, I'll put my robe on and just kind of stand outside, okay? Just so that I'm awake. But I'm not totally energized yet. Then what I will do is I will go back in my bedroom and I'll go back into the TV room upstairs and I will sit there and visualize what it is that I want for at least 10 minutes to a half hour. And I will play music with headphone sets in. And I'm putting headphone sets in so it gets rid of any other type of noise. The dog barking, my wife getting up, the kids getting up to go to school or work, whatever, okay? Remember, if you're in that relaxed state and you can picture this, that's one of the most powerful thoughts or ideas that the vision is going to get you to accomplish this. All right, the images that you impress upon your subconscious mind over and over again ultimately become fixed and by law will manifest in your life. So now we go to taking inventory. Now, what does that mean? Well, you're taking inventory because you're going to go through experience and through journalizing, you're going to say, you know what, that thing that I did yesterday worked. It got me a little bit closer. You're going to memorialize that in your journal. When you memorialize it in the journal, the opportunity is going to come up. You'll also say or find out the things that don't work for you. All right? And by doing this, you're going to develop different habits and you're going to develop a different belief system and a value system, which is your paradigms. All right. So now you're going to take action steps in the direction of your goal. Now again, right now you don't have to know what those are. See, because this is kind of at the bottom. So when you look at all of these different things, together equal the desired results that you're going to want, okay? So if I want to make $5 million a year, I know what I truly want. $5 million a month by the end of the year. I'm going to have my goal card that's going to say this. I'm going to write in my journal how happy and grateful that I am that the universe has given me that. God's given me the ability and the insight to do this. I'm going to use my visualization techniques each and every day. I'm going to take inventory of what works and what doesn't work. And I'm going to not do the things that don't work, and I'm going to do the things more often that do work. And I'm going to be inspired to take the action steps in the right direction. And we're going to get our desired results. Okay. Okay. So then what we're doing is you have to, when those inspirations, those little whispers that the universe gives you, listen to those. Because those are insights that you're on the right path. Every person that I've met, and I've met some phenomenal people. I've met Tony Robbins, I've met Mark Victor Hansen, I've met Jack Canfield, I've met, who's those guys, Tyler, that came over to the house the other day? Ken Bouchard, John Assoff. I mean, all those guys, every one of them differ in their philosophies and their dogma of personal development, but they all agree on these steps. They all do those steps. Okay? All right, so when there is harmony between the heart, mind, or heart, mind, and resolution, then nothing is impossible. Okay? All right, so quickly, we're going to end by going through this. Now that we got a foundation and we're recording this presentation, we pass those around, Jess. We are going to learn the finesse of the business mindset training, okay? And what I've done here is I've written this manual for a couple other companies, and I'm not changing the manual. I'm just changing it for AboutFaceology. So we're going to go through this. We're not going to go through all of this, but you're going to see a little bit of how this works, okay? So follow along with me. The purpose of this training is to help you understand the success secrets of building a large organization in AboutFaceology. By the way, those of you who are listening on camera, email admin@aboutfaceology.com, and I'll email back to you what it is that we're reading here, so you can have it for future reference. But know that this is just a sample of what it is that the manual will be. Okay, first of all, I'm a finance guy, I'm a money guy. You know that I'm an accountant by trade, you know, my master's degree, my bachelor's degree, it all has to do with money. All right, so just a note about savings, because each one of you, as you start to make money, I would strongly urge you to take 10% of your paycheck, no matter what it is, and open up a savings account and just tuck it away. Your savings, believe it or not, affects the way that you stand, the way that you walk, the tone of your voice. In short, your physical well-being and self-confidence. A man, that should be a man. A man without savings is always running. He must take the first job offered, or nearly so. He sits nervously on life's chairs because any small emergency throws him into the hands of others. Without savings, a man must be too grateful. Gratitude is a fine thing in its place, but a constant state of gratitude is a horrible place in which to live because you're begging. Begging does nobody any good. A man with savings can walk tall. He may prize opportunities in a relaxed way, have time for judicious assessments, and not be rushed by economic necessity. A man with savings can afford to resign from his job if his principles so dictate. And for this reason, he'll never need to do so. A man who can afford to quit his job is much more useful to his company, and therefore more promotable. He can afford to give his company the benefit of his most candid judgments. A man with savings can afford the wonderful privilege of being generous in family or neighborhood emergencies. He can take the level stare of any man, friend, stranger, or enemy. That ability shapes his personality and character. The ability to save has nothing to do with your size of income. Many high-income people spend it all. They're on a treadmill, darting from lives like minnows. The Dean of American Brokers, J.P. Morgan, once advised a young broker, take waste out of your spending and you'll drive the haste out of your life. If you don't need money for college, a home, or retirement, then save simply for self-confidence. The state of your saving does have a lot to do with how you talk. Now, look at the next page. This is a letter from me. As you go through the process of learning the business mindset of building your business, changing lives, and making more money than you could ever dream of, know that the ideas and concepts that you will learn are not my own. I have been blessed, and I am so grateful that I met and adopted so many mentors in my life and in my business career. Learning processes is easy. Learning how to think, well, that's a different story. It has been said that 95% of the population does not think, 3% think they think, and only 2% think. Thinking is hard work. Building a business and making money, easy, as long as you learn how to think. Hopefully this presentation tonight will give you an insight of that process. I want to personally thank you for joining the AboutFaceology family. Not only do we have some of the most innovative and disruptive products in the industry, but also you have the opportunity to build a fun and exciting business that changes lives and can earn more money on a monthly basis than you are now earning in a year. I'm excited to take this journey with you, live in abundance, and go for the goal. All right, so the business format system, the number one product we have 8 steps. Now here's some of the rules to success. They're held every week. Okay, so starting here, well, it may not be here in this location, but we're going to hold one every week. Attend every possible week that you can and try to bring people. Now, just so you know, the meeting starts at 6:30. We call this MOZone, Momentum Zone. We get here, we mingle, we introduce new people to the business opportunity. At 7 o'clock, what ends up happening is we will all be in one room. And at that point, we have the introductions, okay? And the introductions are going to be based upon whoever the main speaker is that particular night. Whether it's one of you, and hopefully at some point, some of you will run these meetings, whether it's me, whether it's Mike, Dr. Warren, whatever the case may be. And so what we do is do about a 10 to 15 minute recognition system. What happened this week? Who did some parties, or who made some big sales, or who did what? And then what we will do is we will separate. The brand new people who are being introduced to the products and the services will come into one room, and that'll be a presentation that you were first introduced to. What does collagen do? What does the diet do? Everybody else will stay in training. You will learn different components to running a business, whether how to set up your business, how to do your tax returns, how to do your accounting system, how to sell, how to explain the product. So if we go through this, let's just kind of walk through just a couple of these pages. Organically building a business and e-commerce strategies for building a business. Who would like to have, say, 1,000 people in their downline? Okay, how much money do you think that you'd make if you had 1,000 people in your downline?
Well over $20,000 a month.
Oh yeah, well over $20,000 a month. Okay, how many of you don't know 1,000 people? Okay, that's one of the biggest challenges here. I don't know how to build a business. I don't know how to, recruit anybody. That's why the meetings are here. Okay, so let's read on. Organic business building while at the business mindset training sites. Number 1, develop the mindset of a highly successful business person. We have to learn how to think. We talked about that tonight. We have to understand the stickman. We have to learn the law of attraction. Now, we didn't talk about that tonight. We have to learn the details of the law of compensation, but we will. Learn not just how to set goals, but achieve them. I gave you a tiny, tiny glimpse of that tonight. Prospecting, okay? People get scared of prospecting. I've been doing sales since I got out of the military almost. Well, my first job was a comptroller for PepsiCo. But ever since that, I've been doing sales. I know how to sell. And I've been very successful at how to sell. I love sales because that's the only job that I know right now how to make more than $1 million a year, how to make more than $1 million a month. And I can go on vacation and control my own time. Correct? That's what you want. So you should be buying me lunch every day until you get there. Okay? Prospecting. We're going to teach you how the leader controls the prospecting list development. Leaders paint the picture on how the team is going to be built. And you have to learn the compensation plan. And the compensation plan that I wrote is so unique that the company that we hired to write our compensation plan has been writing compensation plans for multi-level marketing companies for a long time. It took them how many months just to understand what I was trying to tell them?
Well, the biggest complaint that they had was that we were paying too much. I was lectured time and time again that the structure we had was far too enriching to the downline, and that the purpose of multi-level marketing was to make the people at the top rich and the people at the bottom throw breadcrumbs to them. That's what I was told.
Okay.
I mean, that's what we were said multiple times. They said, you're paying too much, you're giving too much money away. And I said, that's the way we want to do it. And they're like, okay, fine, I guess we'll have to build the software that way.
Yeah.
But they built, probably 20 or so MLMs, and that was their feedback.
Yeah, and so one of the reasons that we didn't launch, because we've had the problems or the products for a long time. The problem that we have is a compensation software program that calculates that, and we had to really teach them what we were doing. Okay, we're also going to learn step number 4, which is the approach and contact. The leader is going to control the point of contact. The leader and the new associate are going to act as joint inviters to the business mindset training classes. In a court of law or every major religion that does proselyting, they do so in twos. Why does a court of law want 2 witnesses rather than 1 witness?
Veracity.
Okay? Exactly. So if you get 10 people that are lying, that is more powerful than 1 person telling them the truth, right? So there is strength in somebody telling you. In fact, we had the wording down to a T of what to say when somebody walks in the door, and you will too. Just memorize the scripts and do it over and over and over and over again. All right. Number 5, the presentation. The leader runs the business mindset. Develop the environment of excitement where people want to join. Learn how to give the presentation of the product. You'll learn the presentation of what the collagen does, and I'm just going to give you a tease here a little bit about some of the new products, because a lot of exciting changes are coming down the pipe, and the new Reese diet product line. Flip over. 6, there's a system of follow-up. The leader guides the new associate through the speed filter. Now, I have 6 speed filters. If somebody does these 6 steps, you know that you have a golden star. You hang on to that person, help them become very successful. They stay after the business mindset training class. Now, quite frankly, you know that if somebody leaves this meeting early, they're not interested. And we say next. But there are going to be a lot of people that come. In fact, when we started doing, I was telling a couple of you before, when I started doing these meetings 23 years ago, it took me 4 months to get my first person to show up. Later, when we moved to Arizona, we had an office where it was hundreds of people were standing up. In fact, we had put the short people in the front and the tall people in the back standing up to be in there because all the seats were taken by 6 o'clock. Okay, we will do the same thing here real soon, but not in this building. If they sign up as a distributor, what's the cost of being a distributor?
$99.
Okay, that's a commitment. That's a filter. Filter number 3, they commit to joining the conference calls and coming to the next business mindset training class. They develop their own prospect list. Okay, they set up a buddy system with their upline to complete the 30-day challenge. Now, everybody knows what the 30-day challenge is, right?
Yes.
If you don't know what the 30-day challenge, you need to make sure that the email that you have on AboutFaceology is the email that you receive your emails regularly, and that you've signed into your particular website, okay? Because we send out that information, but I know that a lot of people just haven't even signed on, and Mike will be doing some of those trainings.
In fact, let me just say that if you hear people in your downline say, I'm not getting the emails, they're going out, okay? So people don't even know how to spell their own name on their email. I mean, I've gone into a couple like, oh, I guess my name isn't really Jones, it's something else. Well, put in your name correctly, put in your email correctly, because if you do, you'll get it. Every single time I've been accused of, oh, the system's not working, we look, and sure enough, people have done it wrong. Because if you put in your email, I guarantee it goes out, because I get every one of them.
Yeah. Just so you know, I send out an email every day. How many of you are getting my daily emails? Okay. If you're not getting the daily emails, there's something wrong with either your email or your site. So
Check your spam filter too, because it's
maybe in spam filter.
yeah. understanding spam filters, one word. If you put the word free in all capitals, for example, for years, that would automatically qualify you for the spam filter, even though the content was wanted.
Yeah.
So check
So
your spam
just
filter.
call the home office, the tech team, and we'll straighten you out. All right? Because we want you to be part of all of the incentive programs, the trips programs, the things you can learn just following the system. Filter number 6 is they sign up for auto ship and they start using the products. Okay? Now the auto ship commitment is only $49.95. It is the smallest auto ship commitment that I know of. There might be other MLMs that have an auto ship, but I don't know very many that's more than 49 bucks. Okay. All right. Now the first 30 days, we want to get 10 new distributors following the system, so you can earn an extra minimum of $400 bonus. Now, if you follow that, I did put a cap of $80,000 your first month that you could earn. Some people will earn $80,000 their first month. You watch. Someday you will hear an announcement, or you'll be on a conference call, and somebody will be getting an $80,000 bonus check the very first month because they understood this right off the bat and just went like a baby, just followed the system. Question?
Are the meetings always gonna be on a Tuesday? Cause like, I've gotta run right now, cause
Okay.
don't judge me.
Tuesday next, eventually they'll be Tuesdays and Thursdays. And they won't be this long. This is just the first introduction, but we are filming. We need to edit that, what I just said out of this, just so that it's kind of a template until we get some other films. So, okay. Then step number 8 is you just duplicate the process over and over and over again. Okay, now I'm going to tell you how we're going to make a tremendous difference. Now, one set of collagen is only 30 points. Everybody understand the basic compensation program, right? So 30 points, even if you're at a 50% production level or commission level, that's $15 a month. Now you get 10 people, that's $150. You get 100 people, all right, it starts to get bigger. But what we found is in my other company called the Bionutrient Diet, which is a diet program, we coach chiropractors on how to use a coaching program for their clinics. What we did is Susan or Blanche and Stacy and Heather, who else was helping you?
The what ones one school?
Yeah,
Kathy.
okay. So what we did is we took some of the products that we had for my coaching program and we just took it to the What Women's Want. And without a doubt, we weren't prepared. In fact, the day before it was supposed to start, we just said, okay, let's just hurry and jump into this. Yeah, and so we weren't prepared. We didn't have a booth. We didn't have signage. We had, I don't know, Kinko's or somebody to make some cheesy signs. We went down there and they had tremendous effort. Okay, so I wish I had some handouts for this. But what we have found, and I've been coaching, I got thousands of doctors that are clients of mine that we've been coaching on how to make more money. And the chiropractic profession about 8 years ago was starting to be decimated. If you have a friend that's a chiropractor, 8 years ago they were making probably twice as much to 50% more money then than they do now. And that's because the insurance world changed, Obamacare has killed that profession, and so they're struggling to survive, let alone make a good profit. So chiropractors are holistic doctors. They believe in no medicine, let's heal the body from within. It falls under the same philosophy that we have of our collagen. We have some of the best collagen products out there. By the way, side note, in about 30 to 60 days, we have an entirely new line of collagen that we're coming in. We have a set that includes the spray that you're all used to, a cream that has 5 times as much collagen in it, and a serum. By the way, that cream also has nano and gold particles in it. Nano and gold is the #1 antibacterial thing that you can put in. It is extremely expensive, however. A little jar like this that has our particles in it, well, maybe twice the size, is $300 worth of gold and silver in the liquid form. Okay, and we've taken that, put it into the cream. Phenomenal product. My wife loved this spray, but the cream, incredible. And then we have a serum, which is a time-released collagen that throughout the day now naturally it'll help that nano-sized gold and silver particles along with the collagen just make your skin feel much smoother, take away the wrinkles, get rid of almost every abrasion out there. Now, here's the funny thing. A couple weeks ago, I had the opportunity to babysit my granddaughter with my wife, and she had a really, really bad yeast infection. And you know that sometimes yeast infections can be horrible. Well, we had just did our last sample of the cream. We went through about 14 different versions of the cream until we said, this is it. I took a little dab on there, and she had had this yeast infection for a couple weeks, and it was ugly. 2 hours, completely gone. That's how powerful it is. Anyways, that will come out as a set for $99. The number one competitive product that we will have is a product by Cindy Crawford, and that auto ship is a 1 serum 30-day supply for $129. We bought her product, took it to the test, or took it to the lab, analyzed it, doesn't even come close. You have the ability to launch into a collagen anti-aging, anti-blemish skincare product that is probably going to revolutionize how people do this. In fact, I'm working on a deal right now with a pharmacy in China that they are about ready to order 1 million ounces of collagen per month. That's a $20 million order per month.
Maybe on my downline.
Unfortunately, in China, we cannot do MLMs. But what I am going to do is I'm going to take the bonus money and I'm going to throw it into the pool. And so if you are participating in the company pools, you could immediately start getting checks of $20,000 to $50,000 per month, because that is 8% per month. So that is, what's 8% of a million?
80,000. 8% of a million.
Okay, 80,000. Okay, so who would like to participate in $80,000 for maybe making or having 2 or 3 or 4 people in your family? But here's the thing. They just found out about our cream and our serum. So we just shipped some stuff over to China last week. And so now what they're doing is that 1 million ounce order can turn into literally 1 million ounces of collagen, 1 million ounces of the cream, and 1 million ounces of the serum. That triples that. All right. So go for the green, because the green is the first entry point of where you can do. Okay. Now, so this product line, when we started to develop this, I have been a consultant for some of the largest chiropractic coaching companies out there dealing with diets. Now, the movement as the chiropractors started to get into the diet market and the weight loss market was organic foods, organic diet. And that's a worldwide phenomenon right now. What does organic mean?
Means that it's not genetically modified.
Okay, no GMOs, which means no pesticides, no chemicals, okay? All organic means is none of that. But let's say that I am eating a tomato that's an organic tomato from an organic tomato plant planted in this soil. And year after year after year, that plant is not going to produce as much of a tomato and smaller tomatoes. Why?
Not nourished, no nourishment.
Yeah, so there is no nourishment in the soil. So it could have no chemicals or pesticides, but eventually I'm going to eat nutrient-lacking foods. And so one of the studies that we have been looking into is one of the causes of being overweight is overeating. Now, why do people overeat? Now, by the way, I used to be at my heaviest 295 pounds. Okay? Why do we overeat? Well, there's a chemical response to this. The chemical response is this. Your body needs certain nutrients. And so if you take something, you eat a large quantity, but only has the nutrients in it, that is this much, but your body needs this much, you will crave foods. You lose cravings when something called a leptin in your system sends a signal to your brain saying, I'm not hungry anymore. Well, when you have the leptin going to your brain, all of a sudden now, is because you have the proper amount of nutrients. So what we did is rather than create products that have fillers in it, this is our #1 product here. This is called Core Essentials. This is 50% of your nutrients and vitamins, or vitamins and minerals. Then our second products was our certain vegan proteins. These proteins here now, if you took just one shake and one or 2 capsules of this per day, you will have 100% of your body's vitamins and minerals. Now, here's what's crazy about this. There are other supplement and weight loss programs that are physically taking vitamins, putting it in their foods, mashing them up, and stirring up the vitamins and calling it vitamin enriched. That's what vitamin enriched means. You don't have to have vitamin enriched foods when you start with high quality products, that we treat the soil of the plant that grows better products. Now, for the last 6 years, one of our partners has been doing studies on the soil. In fact, he is in California right now. We're planting another beta test for the California Growers Association, where we're planting 1 acre of a tomato, 1 acre of a tomato farm, with our fertilizer that we created to go into the ground to create our products, okay? Now, when we look at a meal supplement program, the average cost ranges from about $400 on the low side, which is Nutrisystem, to Jenny Craig, which is as much as $800 to $850 on the high side. We priced a 30-day supplement for $450, okay? Now, somebody doesn't have to go on all of it. We have a starter kit that includes a detox tea. And listen to this. This is what our detox tea does. Detox tea benefits include weight loss, detoxifies chemicals, parasites, bacteria, toxins, poisons, stomach distress, constipation, bloating, indigestion, acid reflux, cleanses liver, lungs, and colon, helps spastic colon, lowers high blood pressure, lowers cholesterol, helps Crohn's disease, and promotes healthy skin. So this product, along with our core essentials.
Don't forget, it tastes great, by the way.
Actually, the detox tea.
I love it.
So these 3 products right here, and this is a thermal booster. Now, again, we have no fillers. The #1 filler for supplements in the United States is what is called palmetto. How many of you have heard of that? It is basically, you know what it really is?
Sawdust.
It's sawdust. It literally is sawdust. That's the #1 ingredient in most supplements. We don't do any of that crap. So this right here is our entry point. And if you just did this, we are having people lose weight, okay? And the energy restore, okay? Now this is a product that you only want to use this 5 days a week, okay? And so this particular stuff here, way more than your vitamins and nutrients. Now, the problem with this is there's very little calories. So your body still has to get calories. But this is our starting point for $99, all right? We will sell millions and millions and millions of dollars of this right now because there are other companies that sell inferior products that are selling less than this for more expensive prices.
Go to a GNC and you'll spend $300 on that at a GNC.
Yeah.
And they're incredible products that taste great.
Yeah. All right. That's our starting point. Now, the core diet includes soups. And so right now we have chai, coconut, a black bean, a chili, and our tortilla. Okay. Then we have 2 different lines of protein powders. All vegan line. Okay. And then we have a whey line. So the whey line is sweeter, but it's not as healthy, because we recognize that people are going to come off the diet and are going to be used to eating fast food. And so to go straight vegan, ultra healthy, but doesn't taste as good as whey. So we have 2 different options here. But we have a total of 72 products. Right here is just a small sampling of these products. The full line here is about $440 to $450 a month. Okay. Now, if you look at the average cost of someone's eating habits, they spend more than that on average for their own eating habits. Okay. Now, here's the thing. That core diet is 270 points. We've developed a 52-week diet program. If they follow a 52-week diet program, and you're getting 270 points for the average diet, and by the way, it does taste really good. Now all of a sudden, how quickly can you make money? 30 points for a monthly auto ship, 270 points for the core diet. We will have people here by the end of this year approaching 50 grand plus per month, because what is already starting to happening is we're starting to get so many different people interested in the diet. Now, we have two versions of the diet. We have a doctor-only program that the doctors need to go to a chiropractor to do. There's some additional things that they get, some different genetic testing, different toxicology testing. And so there's some different programs with the doctor-only program that you can't get with the diet, but the diet alone for the average person, this will be a phenomenal business opportunity. And the weight loss industry, you think it's $1 million business, $1 billion business, or $1 trillion business?
Trillions.
Yeah, I like T's rather than B's. Okay. Any questions? All right, everybody. Yeah. All right. Appreciate it.